What actually is the force? To answer this question, let's start by asking what is the centrifugal force. Some claim that the centrifugal force is only an illusion, not real. In order to test whether this claim is true or not, we must first know exactly how the centrifugal force actually came about. For example, if a person is standing on a car going straight ahead, when the car turns left, he feels himself being thrown to the other side of the car to the right. This phenomenon is generally considered to be a centrifugal force, that is, the subject is thrown to the right by a centrifugal force. The people who determine the apparent force recognize it as the man just continuing his linear motion as the car turns to the left. This makes it appear as if the man is being thrown to the right and there is actually no acceleration. This view is not entirely wrong, but when the man holds onto the car, he feels a force pulling him to the right when the car turns left. Because this left-turning movement changes the state of straight-line movement of the human body reacts with its inertia to keep its state of straight-line movement against. This is how the centrifugal force came about. This is not apparent, but extremely real. It arose in a purely natural way and is an equally natural force. If, for example, two carriages are rolling towards each other while idling, they obviously don't get any power from each other at first. But when they collide, collision forces arise, causing them to repel each other. These forces arose because the speed v of the carriage m was reduced to 0 in a short time delta t, which then produced a force. When a boxer hits an opponent with his fist, it creates a force that could cause the opponent to fall to the ground. However, if the opponent pulls back from the fist with the same speed, so that the fist touches the head but the speed of the fist is not impeded, the fist has gone into space and therefore no force has been generated, except for a quick movement of the fist. From these examples we see how so-called force can arise, which a body possesses. That is, the force of a body is generated when its state of motion is changed. The generation of force in a body is actually a reverse process, in that a body is accelerated by a force, causing it to move. That is, the force and the motion are correlated, force creates motion, and motion creates power when motion is prevented. Under the new rule of inertia, the speed of a body is generally always given as a curvilinear motion of radius r. If r is infinite, it is a straight line. And the speed of a body accelerated by a is limited to a maximum taking into account inertia. From this speed an inertial force has arisen. So the force and motion are correlated. And the previous velocity equation is basically only valid for straight line movement, which in reality hardly exists. Even a man standing on the ground has a force, gravity, which he constantly exerts against the ground. This force is created because the body's speed is prevented. This could have arisen if the body were movable in the direction of the force. However, if he has jumped from a tall building, he is in a state of free fall, and unless his body's speed is constrained by anything other than, say, air resistance, he is weightless and has no power. So it has no power, although it is pulled by the Earth's gravity, like a free-rolling carriage. Only when he hits the ground and his speed is stopped, does a force arise that could be dangerous to him. So acceleration or gravitation alone doesn't produce any force, it can only cause movement. This movement, in turn, can generate power if it is impeded. When two cars collide, forces arise in a short moment, as we explained in the example. When the cars have come into retirement, the powers for both are also gone. In order for a force to exist constantly, the movement of the bodies must be constantly impeded, but the speed must not be reduced or disappear, otherwise the force also reduces or disappears. The question now is, how is it even possible for a force to exist permanently? For example, if a child stands on the edge of a carousel and holds onto a pole as the carousel spins, centrifugal force is created. This force exists as long as the carousel is spinning and as long as the child is holding onto the bar. So that's a permanent force. Also, a body accelerated by a force will generally have its speed limited to a maximum by the body's inertia. So the body is constantly being accelerated and braked, and this has resulted in a permanent force that we call inertial force. As already explained, centrifugal force is a component of inertia. Is the inertial force one that can exist permanently? At the very least, we cannot find a permanent force that arose for any other reason. Unlike the forces resulting from the collision of two cars that repel each other, the centrifugal force is again slightly different. Because, so that the child is not thrown outwards, it is pulled inwards by the bar it is holding onto. So the child pulls the bar outwards and the bar pulls the child inwards. This is how the forces that attract each other are created between the bar and the child. This is attractive force. So the force only came about through movement that has energy. Only then does force have a physical sense. So there is no force that exists naturally and does not require energy. Therefore, the essence of Newton's law of gravitation, according to which every mass point acts on every other mass point with an attractive gravitational force, is wrong. Physics has been misled with this Newton's law, most recently into an insane misdirection, the black hole. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time.